Hey everyone, Chris Tilson here. Today I'm joined with Matthew Kramer, owner of Olowalu Dog Ranch in Maui. We're digging into how pet businesses can make a real impact in their communities. Kramer, as you go by, welcome. How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. We want to hear more about your operation there in Maui, which, for everybody who's not super familiar, Maui's the second largest Hawaiian island. Tell me about how you got started.
Well, I got started really with moving out here into a new place that suddenly felt like home, and I just wanted to change everything. So I started just hanging out with people's dogs. I already worked with dogs before I came out here, and was kind of not really doing it full time. I was more doing it as a hobby. And then out here it turned into a passion project. And next thing I know, I was going out 5 days a week, taking these big adventure hikes with people's dogs and doing trainings. And it got me to be out doing the things I love in the woods, hanging out with dogs all the time and going out in these awesome, amazing Maui rivers and seeing some awesome spots and building some structure in these dogs' lives that never really got to do this. They were dogs that, for the most part, got to walk around the block, and now they got to go out in the woods and actually be real dogs.
Were those more of like daycare clients that are sending their dogs off on like a day adventure with you, and then it's kind of snowballed into more boarding and other services?
Well, it started doing that, and then one of my clients decided that he wanted to help me open up a luxury boarding facility here on Maui. We got a little piece of property out here. We got about 3 acres in a place called Olowalu. And then the Lahaina fires happened and everything kind of stopped and we didn't know what we were going to do. His business burned down. The place I lived burned down. Whole thing stopped for a while. I decided that, we already had some of the things on the property. I didn't have a place to live. And there was a whole bunch of people here that were homeless, and just trying to find a place was hard enough. So I decided that I was going to get things started, and we were going to take what we had here, which was a few shipping containers, and build out some kennels so that we could keep the people's dogs because they had nowhere to go. The Humane Society was packed. There was nowhere else to keep them. Most people were staying in hotels, and only 1 or 2 of the hotels would allow dogs. We did our best to build out as fast as we could here on this little piece of dirt. We started taking in a bunch of the dogs from the Lahaina fires.
How long were dogs with you during that time?
We started taking dogs last December. So it took us a few months to really get things up and going. We were just here. We had the empty property, but there was no water yet. We had to get ag water hooked up and filtration systems and fencing put in. We had to cut out the containers. And on top of that, I had to build a little tiny house shack to live in. But in reality, the community really came to help me. We had so many volunteers come out here. We would have sometimes 20 people a day out here just trimming all the underbrush and stickers and helping us dig fence posts, and people coming over to cut the steel and help with the welding. And then slowly but surely, as soon as we started opening kennels, we started bringing dogs in around December. Some of the dogs were here for over a year. Some of the dogs were here for a week or two. People in Maui had to move to so many different places, and the community ended up being really, really strong. And I'll be honest, I would have been going crazy had I not had a chance to focus on this stuff, because there's a lot of people that really just, they were lost for a long time, and there's still people that don't have places to live, and they're not able to keep their dogs. So back and forth. I mean, we still have some of the original ones that still don't quite fit in where they live, that come back to stay with us here and there, because they just started to become like a barker and they just can't be left alone anymore, or they're just in a situation where they got temporary housing for a couple of months and now they have to move again, and they're back and forth. And that's where we ended up starting the Kuleana K9, so we can continue to do that, because housing on this island in general is pretty tough for most people.
You've now started to kind of blend the business with the community, and you're giving back. So you kind of have that. Is it a nonprofit, or what else have you started on the side there?
So we started Kuleana Canines. Kuleana Canines is basically taking over for what we were doing with the Lahaina fire dogs. And it's not just for people that were affected by the fire, but there's lots of people here that are having some issues. So we have a little dog here named Maui Girl. Her mother came to the island to take care of her father, who's sick right now, and can't find an apartment to stay in while she's here. So she has to stay with him. and they don't allow dogs in that place. The only other choice for her is the Humane Society. It's a no-kill shelter here, so like they're not going to put it down, but it could get shipped to the mainland, it could get adopted, and you're giving up your dog. We offer a deal with the Humane Society where right now, while we're getting started and we're trying to get fully funded and do all that kind of stuff, they're helping us out. So they're helping to have Maui stay here with us and have a place to live where she loves it. She gets to run around. She gets to play with other dogs. The owners get to come visit whenever they want to. They bring the whole family over here. And that way, while she's trying to find an apartment in this crazy atmosphere where, everybody's trying to find an apartment, the prices are really high. And the majority of places don't allow dogs, no matter if it's a service dog or not.
How many dogs can you care for?
So we have 18 kennels right now. Our plan is to grow the Kuleana Canines to be able to take over half of those, so 8 of them. And then we'll continue to build other kennels throughout the property. And eventually we'd like to get that to the kennels that we have now to be fully for Kuleana K9, so all 18. And then we'll have other kennels built on the property for the Olowalu Dog Ranch clients and customers.
So I also read that you're off grid. Tell me about that. Like, how does that work, and what does that even mean?
It's been quite a challenge. I've learned how to do everything from framing, plumbing, welding, all kind of awesome stuff. So what happened was the area where we bought this piece of property was supposed to eventually become an agricultural neighborhood. There was a historical site that they found, and the whole project got shut down. You still have to come back some dirt roads that they were supposed to pave, and the driveway into our place isn't here yet. You actually have to come in on the greenway path, and the only water that could get to the property was agricultural water. It took a while to get all the stuff in place to get the water company to turn that on, and then we've run water all around the whole property. And because Lahaina is a fire risk area, we've had to grow and keep things really wet and sprinklers around the property. But then on top of that, for the first almost year, we were going and bringing in all the drinking water for all of us. So we had to go and fill up trucks full of these big, giant, like 600-gallon water bags to give the dogs water, to get us shower water and drinking water and all that kind of stuff. And since then, we have found a bunch of really cool filtering systems that we can actually filter that out, and we can drink it right out of the system. It keeps us safe. It keeps the dogs safe. And then everything else we have here is run off of solar power. All the pumps, the lights. We've even been able to get to the point to have enough power to get a toaster oven. But most of our cooking ends up being on propane.
And you guys definitely have the climate there in Hawaii to kind of support that. No extreme heat or cooling temperatures, right? I can't imagine trying to do that here in Indianapolis. And during wintertime, trying to keep the place warm. Obviously, we're all in the pet care industry. We're running our businesses, trying to make a buck. But many of us have a tug at our heart to kind of give back to the community, help out the rescue where we can. What have you found might be a good piece of advice for somebody who's in a similar position, has some extra space? How can they get connected with the local rescue, or like, what is the first step in that direction?
I would say the first step was just going out and talking to the community. So going in and talking to the other places. So Maui Humane Society has been a huge help and getting the word out. And they really helped us with the rescue too. So they did a lot. They helped supply some food for the rescue dogs, and they got the word out to people that needed it. They helped us find the people that were in the most need that we could take in. We also went to a company called HARP, and HARP was another rescue program, and they also took in like livestock animals. They would take in horses and sheep and cattle and all kind of stuff. Unfortunately, they ended up going out of business in December. So now Humane Society is the only one. But in general, like just going out and talking to your community. And here in Maui, we're pretty blessed with kind of the coconut network. So once someone starts talking about you on this little island, the word spreads around. If I could only take rescue dogs, that would be the most rewarding part. So I love all dogs, and I love, my clients. I have amazing clients here that come on a regular basis, and we have members that see us all the time, and they start to become family, and, dropping food off. And it's really, really cool to do that. But the rewarding part, the part that fills that little empty spot in your heart, is the knowing that you were able to like keep someone from having to give away their dog, or to rescue a dog that just wasn't having a good life. And when it comes to the fulfilling part of business, that's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like it's still, at the end of the day, we have to survive. We have to have some money. But I would say that the return on investment that you get on a rescue dog is tenfold on setting out an ad just to get new boarding clients or new doggy daycare clients, because you're actually helping the client, and just, the universe gives back, and the more you give, the more you seem to get back. I would say that that'd be my first thing is, once you start it, it does nothing but help your business. If you have just a little space, even just a kennel or two, helping somebody brings a relief to them that just, it, I don't know. I don't deserve the praise that I get, because I I I got a place to live and I have a better life than I had before the fires happened. I couldn't do it. Like, the community around you when you start helping dogs is just, I don't know. They think way too much of me, for sure.
Going back to the need that you experienced through the Lahaina fires, obviously magnified things really fast. But I think all of us in our own communities, there's a small need always going on. Somebody has an emergency. They need to do something with their pet. They don't want to surrender the dog. They don't, it's a long-term type of need, perhaps. And I think we can all maybe kind of lean into that a little bit more and maybe follow your stride there. I think you're doing an awesome job. That's super fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool in the like, it's helped me develop the idea of a different type of adoption program too. And I don't know if this really affects people all over the country the same way that it does here on an island, but I've noticed here that, like, sometimes people just are forced in a situation that they have to give up their dog, and they have to make that choice between their family, their career, or their dog. And coming from someone that has lived in a car with his dog, Cassie that works on property here is the same way. Like, if they couldn't keep their dog, they'll live in a car. I've had people that are already living in a car that came here. But when you have kids and you have families, like, that's not an option. We want to give a place where, like, those dogs, if you're forced off the island because your job ends or you get a new career, you have to give up this dog, that it doesn't go into a shelter. It comes somewhere that it wants to be. And the adoption program is that people can come here and visit the dog. They can take it on beach trips. They can take it on hikes. They can get comfortable. A lot of times what happens in a shelter area is that people are really excited to take the dog. They're doing a good thing and they get it home, and they don't have the time to handle that 2 months period where that dog is still like, is this my place now? Are these people going to keep me? And then they give the dog back, and then the dog has to go through that process all over again. And it's hard for the people too, like, to take this dog in, like, they told all their friends and they fell in love with it, and they're like, I can't handle this dog in my life. But it takes a good 2 months for a lot of these dogs to really start to, feel comfortable, like you're actually going to be the person that's going to take care of them.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. Like, I'm sure you've had some successful placement stories where you've caring for a dog and then you come across a great dog that just deserves a really good home. And have you been able to successfully place a number of these dogs in different homes that were originally where they came from?
We've had some brief time doing that. That was actually how I got into this training to begin with. The first dog that I went after to help out was a neighbor's dog, and it had never left the backyard. And it was this really cool mutt. It was probably about 90 pounds, had these goofy looking ears that stuck out. And when I first met him, he would jump over the cinder block wall and just bark in my face like he was going to eat me. And I slowly, built a bond with him over the wall. And the little old lady that owned him had to take him to the vet one day, and he almost broke her hip pulling her off the porch. And she realized at that point she can't have a dog like that. She can't handle it. She can't walk it. And my thoughts were, it's not a dog's fault. I mean, he got left in the backyard. And aside from me walking by the fence line, he had never been more than about 30 feet from any people. So when I took him out, he was like, wanted to attack everything. And he was terrifying. And I studied up on it. I watched all kind of trainers on YouTube, and I started working with this dog. And it took about a month to, every day working with this guy until he was the nicest dog you could ever meet. I could walk him off leashes. I could go to parks. I could trust him with toddlers. And he got adopted, and he got taken to a home where they had a nice big backyard. And next thing you know, from sleeping in the dirt, he was sleeping in bed with these people.
That's rewarding. That's awesome. So Tell me what's next for the ranch. Like, where's your vision? What's going to happen next? Where do you want to take this?
Well, we're trying to build the ranch up to the point where it feels kind of like a club for dog owners. So the dogs are coming here on a regular basis. They all know each other. It makes a nice, safer environment. And at the same time, I don't know if you guys were told this or not, but we've been building a regenerative farm project and food forest here. So we've got this guy from Maui Mango Farm, and he has been planting hundreds of trees on here, 45 different kinds of mangoes and over 100 other kinds of trees. And then all kind of, things that are helping to restore the environment, to hold the dirt together. There's vegetables, there's local stuff. It's amazing. And it's turned into like this little jungle in a barren area. So we're trying to build that idea too into the community that like we can have this stuff even in these hot, dry areas of Maui, and they're not that hard to grow like this area. So we're building out the shade canopy and all that kind of stuff. And business wise, of course, like everybody else, we would like to increase business, increase memberships, make it like a family. And then Kuleana Canines wise is we really want to get to the point where not only we have the kennels built, but we can push to our next project, which we'd really like to be involved in building community dog parks. The area around Maui in general, all across the island, just doesn't have great structure for dog parks. In fact, most of them on this side of the island don't even have fencing all around them. They have like, three sides have fencing. And there's some really small ones. And in Lahaina town that burned down, they had this really, really hot one that kind of just looked like a hot holding pen for dogs. We want to have something that's safe. We want to have something that the dogs are vaccinated. They're coming in there. It stays clean. And someplace that, it has shade and an environment that people want to hang out with their dogs. So we're looking to both have parks available, but also have that like safety option where they're monitored and people aren't bringing in dogs that are getting in fights and scaring off the people that are taking care of their dogs and being responsible dog owners.
Sounds really cool. You got some cool things on the horizon. It'll be exciting to follow your progress there. And thanks for what you're doing. I mean, it's just really cool to set that example. I can't wait to share this story with others, and maybe others can kind of follow suit and do a similar fashion in their own community. So, Kramer, appreciate the time today, and appreciate you talking with us and telling your story.
Thanks, Chris, man. I really appreciate you. And it's still so weird hearing people thank me for something I'm doing. But it's starting to feel pretty good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I think we should all kind of take a page out of your playbook and do our part. So appreciate your time, and look forward to following your journey.